Ready?
I'll show you.
Namaste, assalamu alaikum.
I want to show my gratitude myself for all of these around the world. From all of us, for your time, for your presence, and for your support. Tiwari, you were starting with a story, which was a beautiful one. I would like to continue before I ask you and I'll ask you for your permission about the question later. Please continue with the story. I'm really curious.
See, the story is that as we know, everyone is possessed with the ego. We have 5 sense organs. They started struggling with each other. Who is the great? Who is most important? Because everyone was claiming. Nose said, I am the great, she is the great. Tongue said, she is the great. I said. So the struggle had to be resolved. So it was decided. They approached the God which controls all sense organs. And it was decided that every sense organ will withdraw from its work. Okay? So one by one, everyone, eyes, hand, started stopping the work, but still the movement of the people were going on with difficulty. Now, after 4 sense organs were finished and still the work was going on, the question came of the breathing, nose, lungs. And as soon as the question of non-breathing comes, that breathing will stop its work, everyone knows. And everyone surrendered, no, please don't stop. So you can imagine how important is the breathing. And out of all 5 sense organs, the most important, the nose, the breathing. Now, somehow, it is said in our yogic literature that यावद वायुस्थिते देहे तावद जीवन मुच्यते. You are called alive only so long you are breathing. Maranam tasya nishkrantis tato vayam nirodhe. And as soon as the breathing stops, you are declared dead. So, this breathing is so important. Since thousands of years, they developed some technique which is called pranayama. Prana is an eternal energy spread all over. No work in the nature can be performed. No activity can be performed unless the prana, the energy is there. And they thought that most active thing which disturbs us is our man. In English, it has been translated as mind. Because in yogic philosophy, there is no mind alone. The Western psychology, mind is everything. But in Indian psychology, there are three functions which are controlled by different actions. One is man. Man means mind in Western, in English literature. But with us, mind is a separate entity. And what is its work? Its work is sankalpa vikalpo hi manaha. Mind is which keeps you unsteady in thinking. Always keeps on thinking. Always will think. Somewhere it will say yes, then immediately it will say no. So this is the phase which is called mind in Sanskrit literature. But another faculty is in us. It is intellect, which is, we call it buddhi. It is a decision factor. It decides things in yourself. Nishchayatmika buddhi. This is the definition. One which takes determination, the decision, the final decision is called buddhi. Then third is ahankar, ego. These all three are separate. And together it is called chitta. So when the definition of yoga comes, it does not say this is that. Only one thing it says is, if your chitta is under your discipline, your personality will be perfect. There's no question of God. You have to discipline them. And that science which disciplines the mind, chitta, is called yoga. And how to do all this is, I think I have answered your question.
I think you have answered three of my questions without me even sort of asking them. Tiwari Ji, what a beautiful story, and what a beautiful, assessment, because it answers so many questions. It also reinforces what you have taught us in different ways in the past. So even though I've been taught by you for many years now, and somehow the teachings remain the same, and yet when you package them differently, they start to hit a note in our human experience, which gives the teachings better rooting in our system. That's how I feel right now. I feel like I'm receiving not the same information, but new information. And yeah, so thank you so much for that.
I can extend a little more.
Sure, please.
See,
yes.
So that is why, as I said, a little difference between Western and psychology.
Yeah.
In Western psychology, there is a problem in the mind. Always. But Indian psychology says there is no problem in the mind. Mind is a problem. That is why the solution comes from the buddhi, the intellect. And mind and ego, they are the two factors which go on creating everyday problem in our personality. And therefore, what they thought, that mind is very, very close to your breathing. Whenever mind is disturbed, your breathing is disturbed. When your breathing is disturbed, your mind is disturbed. Therefore, they drew a conclusion that if we can channelize our breathing, we can definitely channelize our mind. And that is, now I come to the main point, that is how the concept of pranayama started. Prana means the eternal energy which is spread all over the universe. Ayam means to channelize, to discipline it. Though it is done for a limited period, but it has effect on our everyday life. And they have said a beautiful sloka is there. Pranayamena sarve prasyushanti malaetihi. With the help of pranayama, impurities of your body are removed. And when the impurities are removed, the mind becomes the discipline. The chitta becomes disciplined. And it makes you ready to realize what is the ultimate truth. Because we don't know what is the ultimate truth. It depends upon our experiences. And yoga has not named anything, but he has said, just like sweet, you cannot describe what is the sweet. You can feel it. There are no words which can describe your experience. Those words are coined by us, given meaning to it. We don't know what sweet is, but we have said no, the sugar tastes like sweet, but you have no experience. So the direct cognition is pranayama will take you to direct cognition also, apart from your physical, psychological benefit. This is it.
Tiwari Ji, I think, like I said to you before, a lot of the questions have been answered already by you. And here's what I will, I'm going to take it to one of the questions that was going to come a bit later, but I'd like to ask you that question. So we spoke about pranayama helping the body. So in my own experience of doing these practices, I'm made aware through the experience of the practices that it benefits the circulatory system, it benefits the nervous system, it benefits the immune system, it improves lung capacity, oxygen saturation. You spoke about detoxing, so it detoxes the body. And, I could go on. We could have many sessions just devoted to that. But how does it enable us to access our spirit and develop our personality? So parts of it you've already explained in that story and the description that you gave around it. Is there any, because they are the clinical benefits, but it doesn't just stay with that. It starts to integrate the personality. But what about pranayama is touching on that? Is it what you spoke about is that you're managing the mind? And when you're managing the mind, buddhi rises. When buddhi rises, naturally, it accesses the spirit, accesses the personality, the true personality, which is not who we think we are. We hear that from you. You're not who we are, not our minds, right? Who we are is more than just, what Western psychology sometimes teaches us as well. And you've touched upon that too. Anything else that you would like to add in regards to how and where does that spiritual connect happen? And I know it's very hard to talk about spirituality, but it's a very important subject. So if you could.
It is a very deep self experience. Remember one thing, they have said it beautifully that spiritual experience is just like a dumb person eating sweet, laughing, but unable to describe it. So, that is the thing of spirituality, because that is your original nature. It is limited to your experience, direct cognition. It can neither be explained nor can be demonstrated. You know, our institute is known for doing the scientific researches. Here I will try to quote two experiments. There was one hypnotist known as Mr. Max Colley from Sweden. He was visiting India. And we were having a person who used to enter into trance. Now the question was asked, if news appeared in London Times that yoga is nothing but a self-hypnosis. Now our director, our Swamiji was, he was the first person who started doing scientific researches. So he called us, said, look here is one statement that yoga is nothing but a self-hypnosis. So we should have a competitive study and come with a result. At the time, we had one person, I told you, who used to enter into trance, genuine. So that person and another person, Mr. Max Colley was called, he brought one person with him who was hypnotized. See, both these things happened to the second correct. Two EEG machines were there, electrodes were stuck, and he gave the suggestions. Person was hypnotized, and this person went into samadhi automatically. So, and once the experiment were complete, that means the pin was pricked in the thigh to see the reaction. Another ice was kept on the hand, and for measuring the optic, a bright light was shown. And third was a pistol was fired to measure the reaction of auditory. Believe it, outwardly they were both sitting. But when it came to the EEG, the person who was hypnotized, his pins were going out of the graph. But a person who was in trance was a straight line. So this is the difference. And article was published that their self-hypnosis, it is wrong to say that yoga is a self-hypnosis. Samadhi is not self-hypnosis. It is a stage which is achieved, grown, and person reached to the highest point of integrated personality. So this is what yoga is meant for, to transform your totality, total integration of personality. And it has been scientifically proved that it has a capacity to transform you.
So Tiwari, I understand the benefits over maybe lifetimes, but for a beginner, and for people like us who have not yet tasted samadhi, maybe, and are not exactly in that state, and we also need to curb our ambition to be in that state, right? And we all want that steadiness in our personality. But we're moving from a very basic state to, more advanced states. So how do you monitor your process without it becoming egoic? And how do you monitor and how do you reflect to see if the practices have actually taken root and they're taking you towards that particular person who I'm translating samadhi into trance because you have used the word trance for samadhi. We only use samadhi. we only call it samadhi because it's that state. So if you could just answer.
See, let us see what is the problem in our personality. Answer is mind is the problem in our personality. It interrupts, it doesn't allow you to be steady. Having apt attention, the thought will disturb you. Leave aside everything. Samadhi is there or not, let us not concern. But everyone wants it apt concentration. Any problem which they want to solve cannot solve if you are not having a total attention. And even, I'll give you one example. Can you put thread into needle without having a complete attention? No. So how important it is that the mind should be free from disturbance. Our whole problem of the life, which you call success and not success, depend upon what capacity you have to have a complete attention. In our everyday life, we want to succeed. But the whole problem of success or failure depends upon the condition of your mind. As it is said, Chanchalam hi manah Krishna. Krishna is telling mind by itself, by birth, it is overactive. So let us forget about the spiritual experience. I am only calling the everyday experience is because our mind does not allow you to be total concentrated. And yoga helps. Yoga has technique to transform you in totality. It doesn't claim anything. It only claims that it will help you to gain the integrated personality, where you are able to do what you want. Without concentration, it is not possible. You have to be one with the object which you want to do.
So Tiwari Ji, can we safely say that pranayama improves our concentration and then starts to manage the mind?
Surely.
That disturbs our concentration.
Surely, this works on the mind. The breathing, that is why it deals with the regulation, discipline of the breathing only for some time. Remember, one has not to do pranayama 24 hours. Only few minutes, slowly increasing, it will give you a perfect control of chitta. You will see you have a completely fresh personality. But slowly for some time every day.
But Tiwari Ji, before we, this is a process, and as we're moving into the process, we do other practices which support this cleaning out of our energetic system. We call them kriyas. So can we also say, just so that people are not discouraged if they don't see steadiness in them overnight, right? So when we talk to people, we let them know that our final destination is that steadiness that, you know, that these practices bring about. But when we get started and when we are cleaning out our channels, energetic channels, or even physiological channels, which disrupt the process and sometimes slow down the process, or sometimes make this goal less achievable. So can we say that it's a systematic process to get to our final destination?
Sure. See, look here one thing. See, our drainage system becomes blocked. What happens? Slowly accumulation of dirt increases. And they say, in our system, three things are very important. The gases, the bile, acidity, and the mucus. In the system of Ayurveda, they say most important thing is that Vata means the gases, Pitta, the bile, acid, and Kapha, the mucus, the phlegm. These are must be in balanced condition. When they are in balanced condition, you are completely healthy. So in yoga, they have developed a system where if something in the excess, you can take it out, create a balance, vata, pitta, and kapha. And for those, there are system which is called kriyas. One is supposed to practice kriya, and also they are not dogmatic. They say maybe somebody does not want to vomit the mucus. Okay, then what they have said, such people should do the Anlum Vilum Pranayama, Nadi Shodhan Pranayama. See the liberal attitude. They don't want to make something compulsory. No, they have given a substitute. Not if not this, this. So, but only aim is to give you a total integrated personality so that you can take the proper decision, you can sleep well, eat well, digest well, and it will give you a real personality.
But Tiwari, can we also say that when you are sleeping well, eating well, eliminating well, you're in a natural, healthy state, the energies that we're trying to move are better facilitated? Because,
sure.
you know, there's a process to pranayama as well. We're sending, we're sending our energy from the source through a path into its destination. So can we say, because of all of the elements that we've spoken about, which are physiological, they actually help support our practices to gain success?
Sure.
Tiwari, one question I had. This is one of my favorite things to ask. And the reason why I ask this is because when you gave us this instruction that you've given us many times, and for some reason it has recorded in my psyche very clearly, and it has nothing to do with technical instructions. It's more of an attitude that you imparted. And the instruction was be sincere. And you also said, do it nicely. So two instructions that our students maybe hear. Do it nicely. I know it's repeated quite a bit, but be sincere. To a new student, when I was a newcomer, be sincere felt like anything that I would read from a moral booklet. And even though it's a moral instruction, but it allows us to access our practices and give us success in our practices. Why is that so? Because we're talking. Go ahead.
Remember one thing. Sincerity belongs to you. Seriousness belongs to ego. That is why it is very pertinent in yoga that don't be serious, but be sincere to the practices. So they can become part of your own personality.
So Tiwari, we can safely say that this is a holistic practice. It's not limited to physiological benefits.
No.
That's why we speak about personality.
I see physiological benefits already are there because, say for example, when you are sincerity, there ego is no place. In seriousness, ego is there. I am doing. You want to see people, I am doing pranayama. So sincerity is more important in yogic practices. Seriousness, no.
So Tiwari, without seriousness, how do we cultivate discipline of consistency?
No. Understand what is meaning of sincerity. Automatically, the ego will disappear.
So are you also telling newcomers to approach the practice in this way?
Sure. So they must understand what is the difference between sincerity and seriousness.
And there will be a natural discipline.
Very minute. But for the growth, sincerity is needed. Don't be serious. No. Seriousness belongs to ego. The basis of seriousness is ego.
Wow. You've given me advice as a parent.
That should be the attitude of teacher.
Brilliant. Brilliant, Tiwari. Tiwari, I'm just going to review to make sure that there's nothing else left. Oh, so Tiwari, in terms of two questions that I had, I hope we have time for it. One, can we do pranayama lying down? That's one. Second question is, should we be separating pranayama practice from asana practice? Or can pranayama be incorporated in asana?
See, if it was to be incorporated with asana, there should not have been different category. It should have been mixed with the asanas. No. Traditionally, Patanjali has yam, niyam, asan, pranayama. After achieving perfectness in asanas, go to pranayama.
But then are you saying that if there's no perfection in asana, you're not ready for pranayama?
No. That is not right. What they have said, perfection should be meditative pose. You know, there are cultural poses, meditative poses. For pranayama, these cultural poses are not needed. Meditative poses are needed. And there the perfection should be there. Otherwise, you will keep on changing the pose. And pressure in the lungs may be negative and may be positive, harmful. That is why this said in Hatapradipika, Athasane Dradhe Yogi. Once the meditative posture becomes perfect, Vashi Hitmitasana, Guru Buddhist Margena Pranayama Samabhyaset. Not alone, not by reading books, but under the guidance of a teacher, you should start pranayama. So these two things are very necessary. Sitting, meditative posture, and teacher who teaches you the pranayama should be the master.
So you're also answering the question that pranayama should not be done lying down. It should be done seated.
No, that is why they have said athasane dradhe yogi. When the sitting meditative posture becomes firm, then you start pranayama.
Got it. So that's the benefit of asana, that it gives you the steadiness of being able to sit comfortably for a long period of time. And can we, and the second question, that can we do pranayama while lying down, or does it have to be sitting up, and why?
No, only sitting. Pranayama, see, under certain therapeutical condition, maybe you are asked some type of pranayama in lying down, but that is a special thing, means when some disorder is there, not otherwise.
Got it. Okay. Tiwari, do you have any, I'm going to close with a question, and if you would like to add any more comments and any more stories. But the last question that I did want to ask you was in regards to the pandemic that we're facing. And as you know, that it attacks the immune system and it also attacks the respiratory system. Is there a very basic instruction in regards to breath that you can give to people who are either suffering from the condition, want to prevent it, or post?
See, one thing should be remembered in all the practices. When you practice, try to be totally concentrated on practices. Whether it is asana or whether it is pranayama, both require you in totality. This is the most important thing. Always listen. Mind always try to disturb you. So try to practice that also. Whenever any other thought comes, keep it away. That is why they have said, try to concentrate on infinity. And rest is okay. I wish every success to everyone.
Tiwari, to that point, is it in regards to just working with your breath? Is there a very simple instruction that you could ask? What I would, one of the things that you had mentioned to me earlier was focus on the exhale.
Yeah, still I say because unless the lungs are empty, where the oxygen is going to come? It is a very, very important thing to empty the lungs. That is why exhalation is very important. Then inhalation is automatic. You cannot remain without inhalation. So that is why exhalation, one should learn that residual air should not be left in the lungs. Of course, something will remain always, the CO2, but maximum should be taken down. But one should not think that I have to do pranayama 24 hours. No. There has to be natural rhythm.
And do the natural rhythms change as a result of your practice?
Only one change is natural breathing brings proper limit of oxygen in you and releases proper CO2.
Okay. So the natural rhythm may not change, but so you do pranayama, and then you have natural breathing in the normal daily life,
Automatically.
24 hours
Automatically.
automatically.
Ah.
But you're saying also that there could be could there be, I'm asking you actually, could there possibly be a difference in your normal breathing as a result of your pranayama practices?
If there is some weakness in your breathing, it will become normal. Because that is the
Brilliant.
whole benefit of pranayama. It changes your personality without knowing.
And as a result, it boosts your immune system, right?
No, sure,
Yeah.
for sure.
Thank you so much, Tiwari Ji. In the next session, namaste to you. In the next section, we'll go into a little bit of technical questions.
Okay.
And thank you so much again.
I thank you very much. Okay.
I look forward to listening to this talk again.
Okay, thank you.
To assimilate. Thank you. See you next week. Namaste.
Namaste.
Salam.
Namaste.